welcome. We're on our way to Niagara Falls. Probably should have waited a second to get on the road. I'm just leaving a grocery store. I got some, wanted to eat something in the car and got some of that sushi stuff. I don't know if people consider that real sushi or not. I don't eat a lot of shellfish, but those like vegetable California rolls or avocado rolls. Scratch and Pete PA, thanks for being here. Give these vertical live streams a try and see what happens. I think what happens with these is a lot of people, you get a lot of viewers, but they don't know to refresh the stream if the subscriber only mode is on. I'm not sure if it just unlocks automatically, because the last couple I've done have done quite a few views. But thanks everybody again for being there. Scratch and Pete PA, of course, a long time. Dear friend 49 more, good to see you here. Sweet Melissa, thanks for coming in. I'm quite busy here, my dear goodness. Not to mention rainy. I'll keep the wipers on, of course, but this guy's gonna let me go. That's very kind and patient of a person. I got that thing going on with Streamlabs again where the chat doesn't want to stay on, but I got another device, so we're good to go. And again, thanks for being here. If I'm really lucky, it should take an hour and a half to get to Niagara Falls. I'm not sure about traffic right now. I can put Waze on and see what it says. Pardon me while I eat and talk. Let me know if you ever eat the sushi stuff. These, let me see if I can show you. The wreck and everything. Those sushi things. I don't consider it sushi, but I don't eat a lot of shellfish or anything like that. I had real sushi one time in a restaurant in Toronto. I had to fight my way through that meal. I don't often eat things that are new. I'm not one for trying new things when it comes to food. I like what I like and I just kind of stick to it. But these ones here, sometimes you get them and it's the either rice or whatever it is around the outside. This one's got the seaweed. It's a little tasteful, more than I would like. I once had a drink at a special party in a nightclub. I used to work in nightclubs and stuff, so they throw parties like for the industry, let's say. And they're promoted by liquor and beer companies and stuff like this. They want you to try different things, so hopefully you'll push them. And I tried this drink that had squid ink in it, and it is the most pungent thing I've ever had, and I did not like it. And when I have seaweed, I've eaten like, you know, just plain seaweed or that dried up stuff that they give you as a snack. Not a huge fan. We're just getting on the highway. I'm already on the west end of Toronto. I'm in the southwest corner actually today. So, pardon me. I'm choking on nothing here. And so we're already going to be like right outside of Toronto. We'll see how this drive goes. I intend on driving when I come back. Probably tomorrow night. I might change it to Monday. I don't know. When we come back, we'll see how the drive goes, how many people are watching, and if everybody wants me to go through Toronto, like so you can see the CN Tower and stuff like that. I'll do that on the next stream. Today we're on our way out. But because we can't judge the time, you know, Kristen is at home planning dinner. We're going to have tacos tonight, which is a great idea. But I want to be courteous and try to get moving as fast as I can. It's better to be early. You don't want to be late, right? with heavy traffic, it can take up to 3 hours. So I probably should have had Waze on already. Well, thank you everybody for being here. My chat was stuck. Jesse Miller, good to see you here. The Stock Explorer, DJ's Adventures and Beyond, good to have you here. Forgive me for all I've missed in the chat. It was stuck. I thought nobody was here. Not nobody, but you know what I mean. I didn't realize there was a few more people that came in. Let me see what I can do about Waze. Margaret Seeger, good to see you in the house. To wear a jacket most of the time, as I don't know if it's just because I'm Canadian, but I actually like the cold, right? So this time of year and autumn would be my favorite kinds of weather, even though we're early this year. Rain, of course, nobody wants it. This is the real consistent rain. Not really hammering down completely, but just annoying enough that you can't stand in it for more than a minute without getting uncomfortable and wet and everything else. But rain itself doesn't bother me most of the time. Kristen says the wind is really bad. That happens all the time. That could be on the Burlington Skyway, which we'll go over in about 45 minutes or so. I didn't realize it was going to rain so miserably, so I don't know what the view will be like, but we'll do it anyway. And thank you again everybody for being here. I didn't have a video this week. I'm behind again, so probably laughing. A couple people would have noticed that on my other streams I've got a GoPro Hero 12 Black. I think I got it a month ago and I haven't opened it yet, and the whole idea was to get that thing open so I could stream from the GoPro, because I've tried it with a 7 and an 8. I couldn't get those to work. I tried it with a third-party app with a 5. Couldn't get that to work. But apparently the 11 and 12 do a really good job. So I wanted to try, and one of these days I'll get that thing open. That would have been the video I would have had this week, but I got some other exciting stuff coming as well. More help with YouTube channels and software and websites and stuff like that. But thank you again everybody. So luckily that traffic, I don't wish it on anybody, but it was going the other way, so I get to avoid it. Andy Heinrich, good to see you in the house. Oh, why did the chats get stuck? Yeah, I literally, I must have been 40 years old at the time, but eating that sushi for the first time at a real sushi restaurant in Toronto. You know, they did a spectacular job. And I don't know what raw stuff we're eating. I don't even understand the stuff. But it had to be explained to me, like, have you got to put it in the sauce? Like, you got to put it in, I don't know if it was, what's the sauce that they use for that, too? And everything, like, you have to do it. And a friend of mine had to, like, literally pat me on the back and check. He's like, you doing okay there, bud? Are you going to make it through the meal? And I'm like, yeah, next time I'll just get salmon or something. There's no more of this for me. But I don't mind these vegetable things, you know. And I eat a lot of fish. I love salmon. I love halibut, like in those regular fish and chips places. But I've eaten all kinds of fish. I know what it's like to catch a fish, cook it, clean it, and eat it, and stuff like that. Either bass or perch or whatever it was here in Ontario. As a kid, I think I had my fill of anchovies too. Soy sauce, that's it, yeah. Yeah, no way. But thank you everybody for being here. I thought we'd give this a try. We'll try a couple vertical streams again. The last one I did, when I did the eclipse, it was interesting. And I complain all the time about streamers talking about streaming the whole time, so forgive me, but I know we're all friends here and most of us have channels. When I filmed the eclipse a couple of weeks ago, I did two streams at the same time, one horizontal and one vertical. The horizontal one got 5,000 views, and the vertical one got 1,000. So that's an interesting thing to see. But then, I don't know what else I'm thinking about. I must have done one more vertical live stream, and it got more views than I expected. Not by what the action in the chat says, but the analytics tell me afterwards, probably it was people who are catching it from the shorts feed that ended up coming in, just not chatting, let's just say. But I thought we'd try this again. My channel's been sitting at 9,800 for like a year. I want to unlock the YouTube giving feature. That comes when you get 10,000. Yeah, ice cream. Where we're going to Niagara Falls, there's all the ice cream and crazy sweet treats you can imagine. They make fudge down there. There's a Hershey store. We've got this thing in Canada called beaver tails, where it's a flat piece of pastry, and if you can imagine, it looks like a beaver tail, right? So it's just a big round thing, and they just smother all kinds of either frosting and candy or chocolate or hazelnut stuff and everything else on it, sprinkles and chocolate chips and basically whatever you want. Those are very popular in touristy destinations here, like theme parks and places like Niagara Falls and this time. There's everything in that area, all condensed too. You can't turn like for 2 seconds without seeing something to eat. Something bad to eat, for that matter. Oh, Jaden, it's Jaden's birthday tomorrow. He has to be excited. Yeah, I don't know how many Dairy Queens there are in Niagara. I forget if there's 3, but there's 2 for sure. We go depending on whether it's heavy tourist season. We go to the other end of town. But if it's not bad, then we just go to like Midtown where everybody goes. I haven't had Dairy Queen in a while. Smoky Mountain Bless, good to see you here. Thank you for coming in. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody. I got this, is it DJ's birthday too? Did I forget that it's DJ's birthday? Oh, early birthday you're saying. Jesse Miller. There's this glitch going on with Streamlabs, the app that I use on the phone. The chat doesn't want to stay on. So hopefully the view's okay here. It does sound cool, Pete. U-Haul trucks kind of all over their lane over there. Gotta be careful. VS Speaks Royally, good to see you here. Thank you for coming in. Let's try to get around this guy. I don't want to jinx anything, but I had a few repairs done on this truck a while ago, so it should be in really good shape. It should be in pristine condition. 337,000 kilometers on it, which means it's had at least 32 oil changes, because I don't believe I ever missed any, but maybe one. of traffic on the other side over there. Canadian Family Life, good to see you here. Thanks for coming in. Honk Tube, thanks for coming in also. Hopefully I'm not missing anybody, but thanks everybody for hanging out and keeping me company while I do this drive. Way that the cities work here by Toronto, there's really no border between one city and the next. Like, and what I mean by a border is you don't see any difference. It's not like it breaks off into farmland and then you get to the next city. Here it's all continuous. So we're already leaving Mississauga, which is the next city west of Toronto, and we'll be in Oakville next, Burlington before you know it, and off to Hamilton, which is another well-known city. It's a steel town. Then things start to break up. Oh, Honk Tube's going to be coming to Niagara Falls on the other side with our friends in New York State. Coach Sherry, good to see you here. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, thank you everybody for those thumbs up. Even I forget when we're on phones to drop those thumbs up. I don't know how many times I might have mentioned it on this channel lately or in the last few months, but I've got the 24-hour music channel running again. So that is copyright-free music. I own it all. It's all ghost-produced music, stuff I got like either by people on Fiverr or other things. And there's about 60 songs over there. It's all like house music, nightclub stuff. But the stream runs 24 hours. I don't talk on it. There's no sound effects or nothing, just the music. And then there is a video game going on it and this and that. So after this live stream, it should redirect over there. But if anybody hasn't seen it already, all that music's available to be used in everybody's videos and streams too. And it's available everywhere. It's on Deezer and Spotify and Amazon and Google and everywhere else. This area always has some kind of traffic. Thank you, Scratch and Pete, for dropping the link for that. Yeah, comments can be challenging in a vertical stream. On this one, I knew that when I set up the camera, if you look, the dashboard I can't lift I don't want to lift the phone too much higher than it is. But because it's just dashboard at the bottom, it should be dark enough to help be able to read the text a little bit. But it comes and disappears and fades and this and that. We always hope for more improvements on these things. But yeah, you could also do things like put a overlay or something onto your screen so that you have darker at the bottom, or like a square stream, a non-traditional size, let's say. Whether it would show up as vertical, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's gonna rain, Jaden. Yeah, I forgot that it rains today. Rain, really doesn't seem to affect me too much. It doesn't stop me from doing very much, because if I'm working outdoors, if it's a rain day, we just don't work outdoors. The rest of the time, I'm just surrounded by computer screens anyway. Oh, I see. Side by side. That makes sense, Smoky Mountain. Yeah, I was thinking about that right before I put the stream on, but I'd already left. I was already at the grocery store. I didn't want to rip the computer out and everything just to put Nightbot on. Nightbot is probably not going to do the weather. Usually I try to have that on when I stream, but it's something we got to remember. I wish they'd put some kind of a feature in it so it knows whether it's a premiere or a stream, like a checkbox. So you could say, I want this message to come up when I'm premiering or streaming, or both. Because so many times I'll do a premiere and then it comes up with the weather, or says we are live right now when we're not actually live. But things we laugh at. Thank you, Coach Sherry, for sharing as well. I always appreciate that. I don't ask for shares on Tuber Chat because that channel's doing just fine, and it can get overwhelming at times, as a matter of fact, as ridiculous as that sounds. Whereas over here, I absolutely appreciate the shares. I appreciate them anyway on any channel, but over here is where I need the help, in the music channel, of course, to continue to grow, right? Whereas Tuber Chat's like kind of built up enough now that it continues on at a perfect pace. That lane beside us over there is for why don't I remember what they call it? High occupancy vehicles. Yeah, so what it means is more than one person in a vehicle can drive in that lane, or emergency vehicles, or they have a special pass called a hot pass, I think, or something like that, that commercial vehicles can buy. And I don't know if it's $100. That was something I heard a long time ago, that will let you use that lane, but you're not supposed to use it if you're by yourself. So whether it's like anything to actually do with the environment, or carpooling, or if it's just to speed things up, I don't know, but that's what those are for. And we have them on many of the highways in Canada. I read something again as well that I was unaware of. They might be raising the limit on for speed on some of the areas. So I can't remember which is which, if somebody wants to calculate it out. But the 100 kilometers an hour that we drive in Canada, I can't remember if it's slightly, like barely, faster or slower than 65 miles an hour for our American friends, right? But they're raising the rate. I think it's a little bit slower. They're raising the rate here to 110 in some areas. So I'm not sure how many miles per hour that works out to. I don't know if it's 7 or 6.5 or something like that. It must be 6.5. But it's great, in my opinion, just because it moves a little bit faster. I mean, if you're doing 100, what's the difference in 110? In the States, it'd be like, if you're doing 65, what's the difference if you're doing 70, right? The statistics will tell whether that's extra dangerous or not. But they've been doing it here for a while, and they're expanding the areas now. Just Jason Keto and more will be happy about that too, because he does some traveling, and he's not too far from me, actually. I met up with him for the second time. And then Jeff Hyatt, good to see you in the house. Yeah, no music. I was going to get the copyright-free music going, but I keep forgetting that it won't work the way I'm running things with my phone right now. I got to get a CD burned of it and let that run. I still have a CD. This truck's 11 years old now. Rambling with the Brooms, good to see you here. Thanks for coming in. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody. Yeah, even Streamlabs, the web chat bot was driving me bananas today. It was, it just wouldn't refresh. Something was up. And then thank you, Scratch and PPA. Yeah, so we're a little bit slower when we drive 100 kilometers an hour than 65 miles an hour. Nobody actually does 100 anyway. Everybody's flying at 120 most of the time. Or close to it. It looks like we're out of the rain now for a while. Or it's at least trailed off a bit. I got to see this post. Something came by. I don't know if it was while we were doing the other stream earlier, or if it was something else that I saw this morning somehow. You know, I'm always flipping through all the social networks. I try not to get sucked into them, but I do go on each one every day. Usually I check messages at least, right? But I saw something about 2 Cybertrucks approaching max speed. So I don't know where they were, if they were on the Autobahn or somewhere else. I don't know. Blissful Connections, good to see you here. I keep thinking about getting another vehicle. If I do, it'll be something either used or pre-loved, they like to say here. But the right car for me to buy, I was going to buy a Toyota Corolla a couple of years ago, and they couldn't get cars because of the pandemic. It's the only story I know of where a dealership gave back the deposit and said, we can't get a car. And I couldn't believe it. But anyway, so it's better that didn't work out. I got some family obligations that require a car that's easier to get into. Easier than this truck, which is obviously a little bit higher, and easier than a car where you got to crouch down to get in, let's say. So something like a RAV4 there, like right in front of us, is probably the right vehicle to buy. They're so popular. Pardon me, and I'm a fan of Toyota. I've never had one, but I'm a fan of the idea. But I keep looking at these Jeep Compasses because they're a little bit smaller. They come in standard, which almost nothing comes in standard anymore, up until the year 2020. And because they're a little bit smaller, I'm assuming they're a tiny bit better on gas, even though anything Toyota is probably good on gas. And then they're 4x4 as well. So you can get a standard 4x4, which is like, I don't even know what to think about that. I'm amazed. Instagram verification, I forget about. I should probably think about that. All these platforms want to charge money, now for everything, right? And I think about it. I thought about getting Twitter. I'm on that. I really don't want to spend a lot of time on Twitter because it's the best one for me for the algorithm. It sucks me in and I can't stop reading. And it triggers in both directions, right? So I'll see a post of somebody falling off a skateboard or some truck crashing into something. And then I'll see a post of kittens playing with each other. Or somebody like releasing baby fish into a stream or something like that, right? And then I see like people beating each other up in the street and political rallies and stuff like that. So and then it triggers both ways because it'll show me something that, let's just say, might align with a view that I have on a political subject, and then it'll show me the complete opposite right after. And you can't help but read because the question is like, wait a second, what did Biden say today? What did Trump say? And I have to stay off. But, all these platforms are charging money now too. So you got to think like, okay, maybe for a lot of people, $5 or $10 or $15 a month may not be the end of the world when it comes to getting verified on a platform that you enjoy or are serious about. But my dear goodness, if it doesn't start to cost a fortune when you want to subscribe to 5 of these things, you know what I mean? You start adding these credit card charges up and you're like, hey, wait a second here. I'm spending like what, $100 a month, a couple $100 a month just on that. Not to mention like television and stuff. I start watching Pluto TV because it's free. Not that I'm the cheapest person in the world, but I really don't watch TV anyway. It's usually just on as background noise, so the commercials don't bother me. On YouTube, I don't see them because I have premium, but that's an example, right? Yeah, it looks like those Jeep Compasses will be okay. That's what I want right now, whether it's a good decision or not. I mean, you really don't know until you have it. But cars, like everything else, we can get into battles with people and, oh, Jeep's terrible, don't get a Jeep. And, oh, I don't like Toyota. And, you should buy American, or whatever. I'm driving an F-150 right now. But this thing has had just a couple of disasters. My goodness, every time we're starting to speed up, we're slowing down. The model of F-150 that I have, a 2013, was one of the first years, if not the first year, that they came out with this EcoBoost thing in the engine, and it caused a timing chain to stretch. So that's a $4,000 repair, and that's a make or break amount of money for somebody with a vehicle to say, oh my God, maybe I have to, let the vehicle go, or think about getting something else or repairing it, right? And then recently I just went through a couple of things, but like I said, it's a year and a half old. I mean, it's 11 years old. I don't know what I'm thinking. It's 11 years old, so I just had to do like catalytic converters. There's 2 of them on here, oxygen sensors, and a camshaft positioning sensor, which is, they're all expensive repairs, but you have to know that they're going to come, right? But because I do these long drives for a long time, I've been thinking about getting something smaller. Probably better that it didn't work out that I got that Corolla. And I'm sure there's better cars to have, but I really want a stick because I've been driving stick my whole life except for this truck, and I miss it and I like it, even when, you have bad traffic and it drives you crazy. But I think, towards the future, I want to buy a car. Hopefully I'll keep it, right, for a long period of time. By the time I'm 60, I don't know if I want to drive a stick anymore, right? You just don't know. So I'd like to have one now, but that's just a want. These are first world problems or conversations, but we'll see. They come up all the time. You could buy anything you want now in a car. If you don't care about the year really, anything from Canadian 3,000 to 10,000. If you just wait it out, they come up. Yeah, other than that, this truck's been fine. But the truth is, I drive it like a car. I didn't get a truck because I need it. I got it because I just wanted it. I literally, like, as horrible of an idea as it is, I, at the time, was buying myself some happiness, let's just say, and overpaying for it, for that matter. But anyway, I didn't get the base model because they couldn't get it. I bought my 2013 in 2013. So they were almost out of trucks. So I didn't quite get the color I wanted. I wanted the lighter blue. Now I'm probably happier that I got the darker blue. I mean, these are ridiculous things I'm saying, but you know what I mean. And then I wanted the base model. I was like, look, I shouldn't even be buying a truck, so just give me the base model. And they were like, well, we can't get it anymore. So we've got this one that's got a couple extra things, but it's missing a couple of things. So it's about the same price anyway. So I have like a towing package, let's just say, that I have yet to use, but it doesn't have the step bars on the side. And I don't know if that make it easier or not to get into a vehicle if somebody has trouble getting in vehicles. So it's something I never bothered to put on. But the gas mileage is the biggest thing I think about now, like I said. Fairbrick Studios in the house. Thanks for coming in. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody. Yeah, I enjoy having a truck for sure. You know, it was funny too because as soon as I got it home, as soon as I brought it to my parents' place, my mother said, oh, I think Kevin finally has a vehicle that suits him. So I don't know about that, but I actually wanted this truck for a long time. I had it as a desktop picture on my computer for probably 2 years before I bought it. And, you know, there's a Lincoln. Look at that, a stretch limo over there. Most of the limos you see around Toronto now are stretch limousines, are all, what are they, Escalades? Or Navigators and things like that. Just big, huge, monstrous things. I think the price of those went from like $200 a night or $200 a trip, let's just say, 15 years ago to like $800 now or something like that. I don't think I ever paid for a limo. I've only ever been in a couple, actually. Yeah, but they were taken care of by other people when it was time. Forgive me for all I'm missing in the chat. I'm trying to skim through it a little bit here. Yeah, Cadillacs, Lincoln, that one. When I bought my truck, what I should have bought was the last model, which I think was a 2010 Lincoln Mark LT. So I think some people, I don't know anything about cars. When I'm talking, I promise you, I know as little as anybody else, if not, like, I'm the worst for not knowing anything about them. I can't tell a lot of the cars, like the years and stuff. I just know some of them, some of the time, let's just say. But, Lincoln made a pickup truck for a few years called the Mark LT, and it was beautiful. So the same condition, like I bought my truck brand new, which I wish I hadn't. It was a bad idea, but what I should have bought was a fully loaded Mark LT at the same time for the same price or a little bit cheaper, And then I would have had the last Lincoln truck that would have been running, because they gave those up now. Not that it matters today, but even when I bought this, I had been driving somebody else's, one of the guys who owned a nightclub I used to work at, he had 2 Porsche Boxsters, and a Escalade was his everyday car, if you can imagine. But I used to have to drive his cars all the time, both the Boxsters and the Escalade. And when I was driving the Escalade, he had me take it to the States once, and I was like, what a ride. This thing's just so smooth and incredible. But 10 years later, or 5 years later, whatever it is, when it's time to get this Ford F-150, I'm like, well, this truck now probably feels just as smooth and great as that thing did that many years ago. And sure enough, yeah, this thing is beautiful. But like I said, I just drive it as a car. I've moved a little bit of furniture around and stuff like that, but I haven't towed anything with it, and it was never meant to be used as a work truck or anything. You ask me why I'm talking about a truck so much today, too. So yeah, we might be out of the rain right now. Yeah, I don't know if everybody still does the thing with the renting limos. I'm assuming that they do. I've done parties where, like, I rent out a nightclub and the teenagers can have a night at the nightclub or whatever. And we've had kids. I had one in Niagara Falls. It actually got shut down by the cops right away, my grand opening, because there was too many people. If I understand right, the police report says there was like 1,500 people that showed up, but it was more like 1,000 in my opinion. But the place only held 400. So it was a disaster waiting to happen. I couldn't have predicted it. But we had one girl showed up with a bus, and I don't mean a school bus, like a city bus. And I couldn't believe it. And the whole bus was full of people, and they all had beers in their hands, knocking on the windows. Look at us drinking. And I screamed at the bus driver like a lunatic. I was like, get out of here before you get arrested. My gosh, what are you doing? And actually, at the time, like, so I say teenagers, it doesn't have to be. So we'd have, like, in the States, they have parties called 18 to party, 21 to drink, where what they do is, like, anybody can go if you're 18 or older, and then they have an area where people who are 21 and over can drink. In Canada, the drinking age is 19. But still, I think these kids were probably, for the most part, drinking underage. What a disaster. That's a true story. They all are, but what a memory. Somewhere on some camera I had a picture too. I can't find it. For all the SD cards and everything I've ever been through, that would have been in 2009 or something. 2008. I would have had a picture of, like, the crowd outside this place, which is gone now. And then people just coming from everywhere, every direction. People were jaywalking across the street. It was madness. But I remember people coming to some of our parties, especially in the States. I spent a lot of time in New England, and for a couple of years there, everything we touched turned to gold. We did parties in Providence, Hartford, and Boston. We started with Providence and Hartford. In Providence was a place called the Complex. In Hartford, there was a couple places. One was called the Brickyard. I don't remember if I'll remember the name of the other place. And then in Boston, there was a place called Club Lido. But Lido was different because that place holds like 2,000 people, and we could only ever get, I think, 1,300 or something like that in there. But we did spectacularly. And it was unbelievable. Yeah, Canada's just been 19 for as long as I can remember. In Montreal, I think in Quebec province, it is 18, if I'm not mistaken. But Canada has 19 as an age for gambling and probably even cigarettes, I think. I could be wrong about that. And liquor. So Niagara Falls used to be also known because 18-year-old Americans would come over from New York State and hang out, and there's all cheap motels there and everything else, mixed in with all the big hotels, but you know what I mean. They come over to drink and this and that, and I'm assuming people still do that are closer to the Quebec border in Ontario, to just go across. If you're 18, you could. But thank you again, everybody, for hanging out. So now that bridge that we just went over was the Burlington Skyway. Now we're in Hamilton. They got an international airport here. I'm not sure how many airlines actually go out of here or anything like that, but Hamilton should be a somewhat recognized city. When we get closer to Niagara Falls in about a half an hour, you start to see vineyards and things like that. Just barely, but on the sides of the highway and this and that. Long before that is where the cities start to really break up. After Hamilton here, they're really expanding and building. Hamilton's a very flat town, so it's really expanding wide. A lot of the other surrounding areas just consider themselves a part of Hamilton. Like some of the areas around Toronto consider themselves part of Toronto, which is justifiable, of course. I'll be curious to watch this back a little bit, because I'm curious how the picture is. I'm using the Samsung 24 now. To film instead of iPhone 11 or 12 or 12 mini. Oh, I didn't know that, honk tube. Is Ontario the only one with 19? Yeah, thank you, Reese Blissful Connections. It's yeah, it's nice here. The trees are still, I don't know why we got so many yellow trees still happening here. I thought that they'd start having their leaves by now, but maybe I just forget how long it takes. I try to get out. I never ended up streaming as much as I thought I would outdoors, but I try to get out in Niagara Falls once in a while, at least once a season. And then my intention is to do a lot more in Toronto too, but we'll see. I always think I'm going to do the stuff and then don't end up doing as much as I think. But these areas get really beautiful, especially in the fall, when the trees are changing colors and losing all their leaves and everything. It's something to see. Of course, because in Ontario, like in Canada, we get all 4 seasons, right? So we have snow as well. The last few times that I've been this way in the day like this, there's been a bit of traffic here where it starts to slow down for a while. And check, see if it's going to be any faster going on side streets. They got service roads down here, which is really cool. So there's always like a, you could see it right now, but on the side over there, there's like a 2-lane road that goes all the way along. It's just that every time you get to an off-ramp, you got to like pull, stop at the light, pull back on. But they move. Chef Mama Blitz. So I was born, raised, and grew up in Toronto, and I continue to work there often. But I actually live in Niagara Falls and have for what's getting close to 8 years now, with Kristen Welton. So I'm on my way home right now. So I just left Toronto and I'm on my way to Niagara. I'll be there in half an hour if the traffic's not too terrible. We'll be in the Niagara area, and then I'll see what things are like, but I'll intend on going down at least by the falls. If it's crazy busy today, I might skip Clifton Hill. But this is the time to go because it shouldn't be super busy yet, like it would be after, let's say, the end of May. It gets busier and busier as the weather gets better, as anybody could imagine, but not overwhelming. Oh, not getting in places because of the age is, frustrating a lot of times. It took me a while to learn that when I was working in bars and nightclubs, the way that things work here. The law here where we are is you're not allowed to serve alcohol to somebody who is underage. I'm not sure about the truth about whether it's illegal to actually consume alcohol underage, but I think so. And so what often will happen is you'll have restaurants or bars and things, and they'll say, well, it's okay, the kids can come for dinner, but they got to get out at a certain point, right? And then it's just up to the honor system to make sure your parents aren't letting you sip their drinks, and you got to, go when it's time to go, let's just say. Because we have, like any major city, you'd have a lot of places that have dinner where anybody could go, including families, but then it turns into more of a entertainment venue, live bands or DJs and stuff like that at night. But I'm uncertain if there's a time limit or anything like that. They got ridiculous laws in Canada. I don't know if they ever changed them. I used to have to know, but there's a law here that says a bartender cannot serve you more than 2 drinks at a time, and depending on how many people you're standing there with. So if you walk up to a bar and you want to get 2 drinks each for 2 people, the bartender can give you 4 drinks, but that's the most they can give you. So they you can't say, but see those 2 people at the table over there, I got to take drinks for them. They won't let you do that. They're not supposed to, right? However, we never used to have bottle service, and I don't know if it's 10 or 15 years ago they introduced that here. And when they made the laws here, I guess they weren't thinking. So you could go up to the bar and you could say, can I buy 7 bottles of vodka? And they could give it to you. Wait a second. You can't sell me 3 drinks at a time, but you can sell me as many bottles of liquor. And I could be mistaken. I'm quite sure that that's the case, but it's kind of silliness, right? Looks like we're almost even getting some sunshine here. Clouds are thinning out a bit. At least we're moving. Doesn't feel like it, but we're doing 90 kilometers an hour now. This is the area that's really growing right now. So just outside of Hamilton, some people around here will consider it part of Hamilton. They just make different city names for different areas, right? And they all kind of blend in together. But after this, it starts to break up. This is what I was talking about. See, this is a huge area with Costco over there, and they got everything over there: grocery stores, liquor store, restaurants. I was shocked when this whole area started to turn towards big box stores instead of indoor shopping malls. When I was a kid, like a teenager, I loved shopping malls. I used to be there all the time, just wandering around and loitering and window shopping and everything else. But that was where, like, we would go when there's nothing to do. There's always something to do, but you know what I mean. Whereas when things turn to big box stores, I'm like, but why though? Why don't you want the stores like right beside each other, where you just walk from one to the other? Why is it now I gotta like park over here and then I gotta go around 2 more buildings to get to the other store? I don't know how anybody enjoys that, unless you know, there's some kind of a marketing idea behind that I don't understand, or behavior. Yeah, maybe, Jaden, maybe. I've been trying to do every other day with Tuber Chat for a while. This week we're going to mix it up because I wanted the anniversary to be done on Saturday. We did episode 700 on, I can't remember. Yeah, we did it on Sunday. So I wanted the anniversary to be on Saturday, so that'll be this week. So we'll do 3 streams this week. We'll be on Monday, probably Wednesday, and then Saturday again. But after that, I'll try to get back to every other day. That's so that we have a chance to stream literally for people every single, you know, type of day. I haven't been able to be on Fridays for almost ever. But once in a while, doing a Friday stream can be helpful for that channel. Gotta try to remember today to cut a highlight out of the stream too that can go up as a video. That was something I don't think I've ever done on this channel. When you live stream, there's a button. Actually, I might not be able to do it because I'm not on the YouTube app. There's a button that lets you cut a highlight, and what it does, it automatically makes a video of the 5 minutes up to the time you cut. So that's how I cut the 2 eclipse videos out of the live streams. So if you plan it right, you could say, okay, like for instance, I'm going to Niagara Falls right now. So as soon as I get past Niagara Falls, when there's nothing left to see of entertainment for a video, then just hit the button right then. And now you got 4 minutes lead up to the falls, a minute of driving through it, and that's it, right? That's an example. But for somebody like myself who's behind this week and doesn't otherwise have a video to put up, that would be a great addition, because at least it's another piece of content, keeps the activity going on the channel, right? Let's just say. I'm not saying I'm right, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Yes, the mall arcade. You know, I can't begin to tell you how much money I literally, like, not only spent, but wasted in arcades. I started working when I was really young, so I don't know how old I was. I think I was 11 years old. 10 or 11, my parents started giving me and my sister an allowance. She's younger than I am. But they would give us $5 a week. And I'm pretty convinced, I can't be certain, but I'm pretty convinced that the first question I asked was, well, can you give me one more thing to do every week and give me $6 instead, right? Because I'm thinking I want more money. And I remember the woman across the street was unable to shovel her snow or cut the lawn, or I'm pretty sure it was the snow. But my mom said, can you go across the street, shovel the snow for the lady, and she'll give you $5. And the first thing I did was start knocking on other people's doors, because I said, if this person will give me $5 to shovel the snow, why wouldn't anybody else, right? And I started cutting lawns and shoveling snow for people. I even got a pager and printed flyers in a couple years afterwards. And, you know, that didn't last long, but it was interesting. Then eventually I remember getting to an age where somebody would come up and ask me, like, hey, can I give you $10 to cut the lawn? It's like, dude, I don't do that anymore, man. There's no more of that. I don't even want to cut my own lawn, let alone anybody else's. But I was, you know, hungry and didn't understand money. But most of that money went to the arcade or buying candy at the candy store. I always had my pockets loaded with candy and horrible things. And video games I'd play every day, before school, after school, lunchtime, anytime we could get around an arcade. Quarters just kept popping like crazy. And in retrospect, I wish I hadn't spent all that money on that stuff. But arcades I was like infatuated with. Yeah, it's interesting too. So we think about entrepreneurship, right? And there's so much to that, really. But I can tell you the one thing that I'm grateful for that I know is not common. So a lot of times in business, especially sales, and it doesn't have to be serious business, like for anybody at all. It doesn't matter if you can your own pickles and sell them, right? A lot of people are uncomfortable with talking to people that they don't know in a sales capacity, whether it's on the phone or knocking on doors or standing there with a lemonade stand. But for some reason, and I'll never be able to figure out why, it never bothered me. So when I was so young, my parents were lucky, I was lucky enough to have my parents and my grandparents put me in all the sports and activities. I was telling a story today, I was in Boy Scouts, but when we were kids, I used to play hockey in the winter, baseball in the summer, went to a couple of camps, and did bowling as well as another sport. And when I was doing bowling, they would have fundraising every year where they give you these chocolate almonds. And you got to go selling these boxes of chocolate almonds. But when they said, okay, how many of these boxes do you want? And I'm pretty convinced, I can't be certain, but something along the lines of, well, how many can I have? I said, well, how many do you think you can sell? And I, immediately at such a young age, I couldn't have been beyond 11, 12, 13 years old, had said, well, why don't you give everybody else theirs first and I'll take the rest? Because I get home from school at 4 o'clock, and except for dinner, I could be out until 7 or 8 o'clock selling these things. I can go to every house that I can walk to. And for a lot of people, it's not as common to be able to do that. So I'll show you an example. I had a paper route when I was, 12, 13, 14 years old, whatever it was. And I worked for one of the major papers here, Toronto Sun, just delivering. But I got another paper route right beside it. So I had my paper route, and then I got the other paper route. And I wanted the third paper route because I heard the guy was going to quit. And then they said, well, you can't because you can't physically get the papers out by 11 a.m. and that's the cutoff. So I couldn't have it. So the problem is not necessarily entrepreneurship, just wanting to earn money, not understanding that earning money and making money is not the same thing. But later, in the later years, and I forget what year it was, I worked for Primerica for 1 year. I made no money, and that was a waste of time and a disaster, right? But in my opinion, it's a great company, and it's life insurance, right? But I was a single guy, 20-something years old and everything, and that company's not really built for people who are 20 years old or 7 years old or whatever it was. And that's just me making excuses. But while I was there, while I was trying to get that going, I was like, well, I don't know anybody, and I've never had any money, so nobody's going to trust me with any of their money. But they said, well, there's one thing you can do. You can cold call people. So you just start calling people out of the phone book, and eventually when you call 100 people, you might get somebody to listen to you, right? The rest of the people tell you to get lost and everything else. But I was like, oh, I could do that. And I had to do a little bit of it with the paper route as well. It's called canvassing. You either walk around to people's doors and ask them if they want to get the newspaper, or you call them on the phone. When I worked at Primerica, I did 10,000 phone calls. And I said, okay, well, I'll do 10,000 and I'll see where I'm at. And it was remarkable to most people. This guy for 2 weeks sat there and did nothing for 8 hours a day or longer but call over and over and over again. It never affected me what people said about, get off the phone, don't call me again, and blah, 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 right? So that's a skill that I'm happy to have, let's say, been born with. And the reason why I say I can't trace it back, I was adopted. And I've done a couple of videos about that, or talks either on my channel, or like my friend Vern, for instance, we're both adopted, this and that. So it can't have come from my parents. And my parents worked their whole life. My mom worked for the school board in a school, and my father worked at a place we call Canadian Tire, which is a, for lack of a better term, department store. Should be well enough known. Almost everybody here should have heard of it. But anyway, it's a Canadian thing. But he worked there forever as like a manager or whatever. When we were kids, we used to get to go to school, go to work with him a couple of times on holidays and stuff. And, you know, my mom worked at the school. She tried to stay one school behind me so that she would never have to be in the same school as me, because she didn't want to hear it if I was skipping classes or other things. But it can't have come from my parents, because they just did what you're supposed to do. Get a job, work your whole life, save money, try not to get in debt and this and that. And I've never have been one to follow like any rhythm. And luckily, my parents were very supportive in a certain way, where they would just let me do whatever I wanted. And even if they didn't understand, as long as I wasn't doing wrong, they would not necessarily encourage, but just say, okay, just whatever, just don't, do anything wrong then. So whether I had different jobs, I would get jobs all the time. I worked at Wendy's for half a shift and told them to get lost because I didn't like it. I worked at that place, Canadian Tire, for a month. I worked at many different jobs, but I never understood until probably in my 30s or late 30s the difference truly between earning money and making money, right? Or the the ideas behind investing and stuff like that. But the trait of being able to go for long periods of time and not be affected so harshly by the downturns or the people who don't want what you're selling, that's a trait I'm very grateful for. This is why, when it came time to start Tuber Chat, which most of us in the chat know about, is another channel, but you knew that it's true when I tell the story now, that I meant to do 1,000 episodes before we started. I said, okay, 1,000 episodes, if I do this many a week, this many a year, probably take 5 years. Yeah, I could probably do it. We'll do 1,000 and we'll see where we're at, right? Because I've done that kind of thing before. So I know I'm just I didn't expect to talk so much during this drive, but thank you, everybody. For those of you who haven't heard me talk enough for today. Nita VR Vlogs, good to see you in the house. Thanks for coming in. Hopefully I'm not missing anybody. But thank you, everybody, for keeping me company, because the time for me is flying. We're getting close already. We're almost at the second last town here before Niagara Falls. We'll be in a place called St. Catharines any minute now. Stock Explorer, Nora said to me a long time ago, I was doing some live streams where I was just walking on a treadmill and just talking about, whatever comes up, right? But these stories that I tell, the Stock Explorer was like, oh, we like that because you get to know the host when they're doing that, right? You get to hear a different side of a person, let's just say. But I hope sometimes that, even in the stories that I tell, that if somebody aspired to do anything that I ever did, or things that I do right now, then it would be inspiring to say hey, well, if this guy can make 10,000 phone calls, so can I. You know what I mean? When I ran my parties that I talked about earlier, and it didn't always, not everything we touched turned to gold forever. Eventually it all came crashing down, and I, got in a lot of trouble at the end of my own thing and everything else. But in the beginning, things were spectacular. And if somebody asked us how we built it, first of all, it started with social media. It started with MySpace. We would have these profiles, and because social media was new, everybody responded to every message they ever got and every comment on every picture and everything else. So it just blew up like wildfire. And Facebook was pretty much the same thing, because everybody starts with 0 friends, right? And there was no such thing as having like 1,000 friends, or, you know, I think the limit's 5,000 and everything else. There was none of that. So it was so easy to reach people. But what people didn't see, and I don't talk about often enough, is what really drove those things. We used the social media to get to the people who were going to help. We call them promoters. And in the truest sense of the word, they are promoters, right? Because they promote the party, they get people to come. But what we were doing was finding people who would be willing to hand out our flyers. That's what the social media was for. The social media didn't bring the crowd, it just reinforced it. It's people handing out the flyers saying, I'm going, you should come too. And we put flyers and posters everywhere. I don't know anybody in my life who's handed out more flyers than me, whether it's at movie theaters or other entertainment places and things like that. I'm sure there's millions, tons of people who have. I'm just saying I don't know any, because I put so many out. My idea is to be at the movie theater before 7 o'clock when the big crowd gets there, and be there for 3 hours or longer until it's done. Not like, let's just take a few hundred flyers and see where we go. I want to hand out as many flyers as I can. That's proper sampling too, is to give out the largest number to the largest number of people possible, let's just say. But anyway, that's how that stuff was done. So if you can imagine, in some places we would mail the flyers. I think it costs like $4 a package to mail 100 flyers to people or something like that. But I would drive a lot of them around. I used to use a program called Streets and Trips, and in Buffalo and Niagara Falls and Rochester and Erie, I used to drive around to people's houses to drop the flyers off. And it would take 2 days to get to 100 houses. But I'd be like, I'm going to go deliver these, because it's better for me to spend the time than the money in that case, right? But anyway, it never bothered me to do those, like, the monotonous work, let's just say, that comes with that. Putting up posters. I became a print broker. That was by accident. A friend of mine had a printing franchise and then just let me get my own account with the trade printer. So what that means is I get the same price for my printing as a print shop gets for their printing. So when you order business cards from somebody and they want to charge you $50 or $60, some of that is profit, whereas I can do the same thing, right? And that made it possible for me to, first of all, be able to buy printing cheaper than everybody, all my competitors or friends or whatever, and be able to order things that other people would not order. Because in printing, it's really hard to order 100 of anything. You want 100 business cards? They're like, no, we're not printing 100. It has to be 500 or more. Not always, but you know what I mean. It used to be really hard to get small quantities of things printed without paying a fortune. Whereas I was able to do it because my friend with the print shop would say, okay, if you want to print, 100 sets of 100 flyers, you could sit there and cut them yourself. And then I would. But posters as well. I used to put posters all around the intersections, so I'd pay attention to where either the high schools or the colleges walked, because not everybody takes the bus, right? Some of them do. But whatever direction they're walking, when they leave, you go and you plaster posters all around the intersection on the light posts and everything. And what I would do, I'd do it in a way so that the flyers, I'd put one poster and surround it with flyers so that the flyers are kind of blowing in the wind. You can't help but notice them. And then all you need is one person to take one, and then they might as well all be gone, because everybody wants to know, what do they have that I don't have, right? But going around to put the posters everywhere was something that never bothered me. Chris's Creation Fun, good to see you in the house. I'll tell you something else. This is ridiculous, and forgive me for those of you who I'm boring out of your minds right now, but I'll just tell you something specific. So in the United States, the government, I don't know if they still do, but up to 10 years ago they did, they allow you to look at the demographics when it comes to different types of educational institutions. So you could go on a government website, punch in the school that you want to look at, and it'll tell you the demographics by percentages of the students that are there, right? In Canada, we don't have that. But one of the other things that we have that was an invaluable piece of data is you can go on the Canada Post website and you can get the maps that the carriers use to bring you your mail. So if you were going to go and deliver anything or knock on people's doors for sales or any of that stuff, which there's laws about that now in Canada, but let's just say, you can follow the same routes that they use so that you know you're being as efficient as possible. And I probably should have gone to school for statistics or something like that. I forget what they call that degree, because that's the stuff that I love, right? When you find a number, right? Like, let's say even a YouTube channel's making $100 a month. Well, how can I push it to $110 a month? Or if it drops to $50 a month, how can we get it back? Those are the kind of things that really excite me more than just the major fact, right? I just want like some money from something. It's like, okay, how do I increase, but permanently over the long term, right? How do I get the maximum number of people to show up for an event, the maximum number of times, not just today? Someday I should probably tell the stories of how all my parties all fell apart and the mistake I made there. That's an easy one to describe. I used to have a hard time saying no to people. So what happened is I would run parties, and sometimes I know better than the things that I do, but I have a hard time saying no. And what I mean is that when you're running parties for people who go to school, let's just say, of any kind, you don't run parties in the months that they don't go to school, because they can't get to each other, and social media doesn't fix the fact that they're not together talking about it all day, right? So when I was doing my parties and stuff, what would happen is they would go really well during the winter months, from September, October, all the way around to April, doing fantastic, busy, lots of money coming in, everything else. But the problem is in the summer, now the club owners have an appetite, so they're like, oh, we want you to do a party. Like, no, we don't do parties in the summer. We talked about this last year. They're like, oh, but we really need it. Our staff needs the work. We can't have our place empty. Come on, we know you could do it. If anybody could do it, you could do it. And then the problem is, I start to believe it. Yes, you're right. If anybody could do it, I could do it. I've been brought in to try to save a couple of nightclubs, for instance, when they're like completely out of money and right on the brink of failure. Because they're like, oh, if anybody could help us, you can. And then I start to believe it. Like, yeah, okay, maybe. And then I let myself get pushed. So then the problem is, against my better judgment, I would run parties in months when I knew it was a bad idea and destroyed the whole thing and lost all kinds of money and everything else. But at least we learn from the mistakes that we make, right? Hopefully. Not everyone. There's some lessons I still haven't learned to this day. I'm trying. But one of the lessons that I learned is just to say no. So when it comes time, like the people asking me, by the time you're 17, 18 years old, do you want to cut my lawn for $10? Sorry, dude, I got other things to do, right? When you're 13, 14 years old, maybe you want to do it. But by the time you're old enough to have a full-time job, you're like, dude, I got no time for that. Sure, I like money, but I can't do anything, right? I tell a lot of my friends all the time when we talk about either business ideas or, dare we use the word entrepreneurship like today and this and that, I say to people, there's a lot of things in the world that you can do. Making money or earning money is easy stuff. And it sounds ridiculous to say it that way, but I'll show you how. Any of us can go and buy a hot dog cart and stand in a popular area of a major city and make enough money to, first of all, buy a house, put your kids through college, have a car, and probably go on vacation a couple times a year. We all can do that if we want to, but most of us don't want to, me included. Because I say to people all the time, well, if you don't like this idea, we could just go buy a hot dog cart. I'll work days, you work nights. We'll be guaranteed a decent life. But I don't want to. I don't want to run a hot dog cart. I love it when the guys do. I've had my share of sausages and hot dogs off of hot dog carts and stuff like that. But it's not a business that I think I would be good at. And it's not a business that I want to do. That's not what I want to do all day. So that's just an example. Forgive me. There is Nightbot. Nightbot's talking about Jade in there. Yeah, I keep forgetting about the link drops here as well. The biggest lesson I can tell you that I have not learned yet, at now over 50 years old, is missed opportunity. I always live for tomorrow, and I always feel like tomorrow's guaranteed. We all know that it's not. So missed opportunity comes in a few different ways. So you think like, oh, it's okay, I'm not going to take advantage of this opportunity today because I could go next week or next month. And then next week or next month, the stuff doesn't happen. And, I've missed a chance to actually connect with people in that way, friends and things like that. And you're like, oh, well, it's over now. It's gone. You missed it. I've had friends who've invited me out a million times for a million things. But then when they finally have something big that comes up and I don't realize it because I'm like, oh, maybe next time. Now I don't get invited anymore. Because I didn't go out, and but missed opportunity is one thing that it's probably the biggest lesson in life that I still up to last year have not learned. I'm trying. Yeah, the outlet mall I just passed, I should have pointed it out. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, they actually have good deals there sometimes. I try to go over there when I want shoes. I had to buy shoes the other day. My shoes are literally falling off of me. Not that I can't get shoes. It's just because I never want to spend the time shopping. Shopping for me, for clothes, is a very stressful experience. I don't like it. But when I do have to get shoes, I overpaid for my shoes the other day because I just bought them from a regular store, but I wish I waited and went to the outlet because they, even though they're not true outlets, the whole collection of stores over there actually has good deals on some things. Rich Cat Ranch, good to see you here. Chris's Creation Fun, I hope I said hello when you came in. I know you've been here for a while. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out again. Oh, we got too many cars trying to squeeze in. You can't see behind me here, but everybody at the last second swerving all over the place. So we're now in the city of Niagara Falls. You'll start to see the hotels and the Skylon Tower and everything in a second. I didn't check the traffic, but we're early enough. I'll go through the Niagara Falls area so you can see. It's not as great a view as when I stand there and look at it, right? Because I can point the camera right at it, but it'll be interesting to see how busy it is down there. And all of Niagara is a beautiful area. I really like living here. I love Toronto as a city. I've always loved it. I don't think I'd be any happier living anywhere else, because when I think about visiting places, I think about New York and Chicago and Boston and things like this, but I love Toronto. And I'm proud to be Canadian and all this, but ever since being, out in Niagara Falls here, it's not just the traffic, but let's just say the traffic. This city is big enough to be substantial. You can have pretty much everything you want all the time, but it's also small enough that the grocery store, cashiers will say, have a nice day when you go, and you see people talking to each other, having conversations here, where Toronto's a lot more rushed, let's just say. But it's a beautiful city. It's well taken care of, and the touristy area is what gets overly busy. Otherwise, you can get anywhere you want in 10 or 15 minutes. It's not a monstrous city. It's about to explode in population, but it'll be another 10 years before that settles. Oh, Oilers fan forever's in the house. Good to see you here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Forgive me for all I've missed in the chat. I'm trying to skim through it. Jason says a specific hot dog cart had the best sausage. Yeah, there's I'm sure we all have our favorite places. There's when I used to work in the nightclubs and stuff, Toronto used to have this very vibrant nightclub area where you could literally go club hopping within a few blocks. Everything was bars and nightclubs and restaurants, and they got rid of all that now because it's all condos that have moved in there. So if somebody wants to pay $700,000 or $800,000 for a 400 square foot condo, they don't want to hear drunk people screaming and yelling in the middle of the street at 3 a.m, let's just say, right? So that stuff all kind of moved away and things have changed. And Toronto doesn't have any or very many big places anymore. It's all really, really small, posh type places now that I know of. But again, I'm out of it, so I don't know. Cop cars there, just waiting out for a few people whipping by. We're gonna go to past the border right here. This is where I've crossed many, many, many times. Anybody here will cross on the Rainbow Bridge. The one in Buffalo or Fort Erie is called the Peace Bridge. See to the left over there, that's New York State, of course. When I walk up here, when I do those walking streams, I never come this way. But there, like, is the Hershey store, right? We're just driving by it right now. And Hard Rock Cafe's up here. There's tons of gift shops and all kinds of restaurants and attractions, and I've done a lot of walking streams where I go up Clifton Hill, which is at the intersection here. If you were to turn right, that's going up the street where all that stuff is, where the restaurants are, and the Sky Wheel, which is an enormous Ferris wheel, for lack of a better term, and there's literally a million things to do up there. So you can see what I mean. It's, you know, there's enough people, but it's not overly busy. Still got to be very careful driving, of course. But if it was in the summer, I'd be avoiding this area driving anyway, because I wouldn't want to get stuck. It doesn't look bad right now. And you see the beautiful Niagara Falls, sort of. If you haven't already seen those streams, I try to get out a few times a year. I've caught it in the winter, the summer. They do an incredible winter light show here too, like those Christmas lights, because Niagara Falls is an energy provider. So they have a really elaborate one. Could imagine, especially when the weather's nicer, this area is just gorgeous. But look at this, like they've already got are those tulips? Yeah, they've already got the flowers out and everything else. They really make an effort to make this place really, really nice. Not to mention clean and well kept. I don't know how they do that. You know, thousands and eventually millions of families going through this place. Feels like pouring rain. Super fast. You never know what to expect, but A couple months from now to be much busier than this, harder to get around. But thanks for watching. Oh, thank you, Jaden. Yes, Jaden is celebrating a birthday tomorrow, by the way, so I hope everybody will wish Jaden a happy birthday if you haven't already. And then, yeah, the Winter Festival of Lights, it's called, Jason says. Yes, I got a couple videos on the channel. I tried to do a live stream once, but the weather was so cold it cut off after 8 minutes. And that video ended up getting thousands of replays. I couldn't believe it. But I tried to get out to see that. I didn't see it this year. I got it last year. They cut it off early this year too. But thank you everybody for hanging out. And I expect to stream the drive back. We'll see. I've already got it set up. I'm expecting to go back tomorrow night. But I might move it if I end up needing to stay until Monday. But thank you again, everybody. I wish the weather was a little bit better, but I wanted to give this a shot anyway. So thanks for coming and hanging out. You made the drive super fast for me. And we will see everybody again soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.